Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Westborough, the COVID-19 edition. If you haven't seen this show before, my name is Art Bergeron. I'm an elder law attorney. That's my day job. I work at Myrick O'Connell, right down the street here in Westborough. But this is not my day job, and this is not about me. It's about my friends Frank and Mary. If you've been to one of my presentations, you know that Frank and Mary's goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And right now, because of COVID-19, their goal is to not die in their house, you know? And so the reason why we did this special COVID-19 edition, and you all know Shelby Marshall, you're one of your wonderful selectmen, who we've been doing these shows weekly now with the help of Westborough Cable, and we really appreciate that, and which relates to who our guest is. We decided to do the show because we knew your life was changing so quickly. And so we really wanted to be updating you kind of regularly. And we decided really at the end of this that one of the things that this show has made clear is the importance of this show and of Westborough Cable. And so we're doing a series right now about Westborough Cable. We have a great guest, Shelby.
Yes, great. Thanks, Arthur. So I want to welcome back Karen Henderson, who is the general manager of Westborough TV. Hi, Karen. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we also have the chairman of the board of Westborough TV, Steve Hart. Good morning, Steve.
Hi. Good morning, everyone.
Great. So just a quick recap on our last episode of Frank and Mary in Westborough. Karen was our guest, and we talked a little bit about Westborough TV, its background, that it has a board of directors. As I just mentioned, Steve is chairman of that board. And we wanted to do this really to raise awareness about this amazing resource that we have in our community. We talked about kind of how Massachusetts is very rich in its support of public access television, but we're going to kind of go a little bit deeper, a little bit further into kind of the current state of the state of public access television, and talk a little bit futuristically. Steve and Arthur have some sort of special crystal ball presentation they're going to do at some point during the presentation. But at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Steve just to kind of share his thoughts about being chairman of the board, and sounds like a very high paying position, Steve, so congratulations.
Yeah, I have to say I'm actually really pleased the way that Karen is stashing that money away for me in the vault of the headquarters of Westborough TV. I wish.
That's why it's there,
that's
right?
What's in that vault.
Yeah.
So that is what is in the. I always wondered. That's why you bought a bank, just for this reason. Right?
Yes, we bought the bank, and I'm very proud of that fact too. I guess by way of background, this being invited to join the program, and thank you for inviting me, it really caused me to think back to, well, how did I become involved in all of this? And I guess by way of background, my wife and I moved to Westborough 14 years ago. As you can tell from my accent, I'm not actually from around here. My American-born wife was in York, England, on a project and working in York, and she met and married a handsome young prince. What more can I say? That was over 30 years ago.
What was his name?
And 14 years ago, we relocated here to the States and to Westborough. And I guess a little known secret, in a sense, is that I actually left a job with the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, to move here. And whilst I wasn't in a production capacity, I had an interest in just, television production and what goes with it. I found out about this local cable TV station, and I think, Arthur, last week you referenced the little basement just off Lyman Street, and I wandered in and met the then incumbents, Donna Kelly and Tim Novak and others, and so became sort of a part-time videographer, and then was invited to join the board. I'm actually, Shelby, not a selectman appointed representative on the board. I'm a member at large, and then as happens, throughout life, you sort of stumble into things, and here I am as chair of Westborough TV, and we have a board of I think up to 9 directors is in the is in our constitution, and currently we're about there, but we're always looking for new blood. So that's me, sort of how did I come to be here? And I think really for me, the key thing has been throughout all this, the developments that have gone on throughout that time with here in Westborough, particularly with Westborough TV and the sort of the end product that we deliver to the community. So, and I'm sure we're going to get into that in a little bit more. But in the meanwhile, I think it's just amazing. And again, I think the fact that Massachusetts has supported community access TV in the way it has is something to be proud of and something that we need to ensure is sustained.
So yes, Karen, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, well, so I wanted to make sure that that you mentioned that last week I had mentioned we had a board of directors, but you left off, I said a wonderful board of directors. Got that, Steve? But we really do. We're really lucky in terms of the volunteers from town who make up that board and bring all sorts of different experiences and backgrounds. You know, one of our board members works at Newton TV channel, which is amazing, their access channel, and just some people throughout town who've been part of it. And we are always looking for new members, kind of bring us new ideas, new perspectives. And Steve has really brought a lot to us and kind of helping us focus. That's kind of a little bit of what we want to get into, but focusing a lot on our strategic goals and, you know, who are we, what are we doing, what could we do better? And Steve really has been great about getting us to look to the future and to kind of think about what we're doing now and what we could be doing going forward. So I'm appreciative of that. I mean, one thing that's concerning, and we've talked about before, is kind of that, you know, as people are cutting the cord, you know, the concerns we have there, because of course, as I spoke about last week, that's where we get our funding from. And so, you know, just to recap a little bit, we get our funding based on the number of subscribers to the cable companies within Westborough. So the Charter subscribers and Verizon subscribers. So every time someone cuts the cord, it hurts me a little bit because that really will be problematic for us because that's our only form of revenue at this point. So that's one thing that we look at is what can be done, not to necessarily stop people from cutting the cord, although that would also help. And one thing they get when they don't cut the cord is Westborough TV. That's a bonus, but also, you know, what the state might be able to do in terms of any kind of setting the fees that our cable companies currently pay onto some of these streaming companies, which is really how people are getting their TV access now. Mm-hmm. So we're hopeful that something will come down the pipe because the cable companies aren't necessarily losing money. They're just shifting and offering streaming services now, right. But that's free of any kind of fee to support local access.
So are there limitations in terms of, you know, let's say you see this cliff drop of reimbursement from cable companies, so they don't actually change their reimbursement structure, although I know we're going to be entering into a period of negotiation of that contract. Let's say they say, no, we just want to treat, you know, the way we always have, but their subscriber numbers have dropped. Are there other access programs that have raised money independently, or they charge? I think, Arthur, you've got some experience. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So I've been trying to figure that out myself because one of my other non-day jobs, I'm on the board of community access of NCTV, Nantucket Community TV. And we've been, and one of the reasons I got put on the board was actually to help figure that out because I'm very interested in kind of the way that happens. One of the things that I had mentioned, I think last week was, ironically, this whole COVID-19 thing on Nantucket has made not only the seniors of Nantucket, but many of the organizations in Nantucket much more acutely aware of the importance of community TV. And as a matter of fact, you know, to this issue of cutting the cord, their subscriptions actually went up over the last 3 months. People have gone on to cable so that they could be connected, right, to this, among other things, right? But one of the things that they also did was many of the local organizations came to realize they were all going to have fundraisers this year that have now all been, you know, canceled because of the COVID. And so what Nantucket TV did was helped a set of organizations, 3 or 4, do virtual fundraisers, really based on cable, and with cable doing some taping and doing some, really doing a film, kind of like what we're doing here. What's so wonderful about this show is that you don't have to be tech savvy to see it, because the folks at cable actually take this Zoom thing and turn it into like normal TV, so that somebody can actually just, press the little button and there's cable and you're watching this, right? So they're doing something similar. And now a whole set of other organizations who saw this, one of the entities that did this actually raised more money this year virtually than they did last year.
Wow.
It's a normal thing. And so now a set of organizations are looking at it, And then, by the way, I know that you folks were talking about the graduation. So one of the things they did for graduation, and you may have done it here, was they actually did a movie. They did a movie with a number of the kids in it regarding the year and all of that jazz, which has become widely circulated. You may have done the same thing. So it made people, even younger families, aware of the importance of this. So I think that's one of the challenges going forward. Another piece that is that there are folks who are getting a show which is actually for which they're paying the cable station, right? Because they think it's important to be there. It's important to be there. I know that they're talking to the Nantucket Hospital about a series around COVID-19 and other health issues, right? Focused, and certainly in praise of the hospital, right? But really to have that kind of effect, and they're talking about getting paid by the hospital in order to do that. So I think there are those kinds of opportunities. At least that's what's going on there. They're very interesting possibilities.
I think, Arthur, those are really good points that you make there, and it's great to hear just that sort of innovation that's going on in Nantucket. I think Karen and the team here in Westborough have been doing similar in various ways, and we had I think, it's interesting, every cloud has a silver lining, and I think the silver lining of COVID is that it has made us actually realize just what we can do and what really people want. And I made a few notes before coming on the program this morning. And one of the things I wrote down was, apart from all the sort of nice words about what it is we do and why we're here, but I really think that there's a real collective feeling around town that, this is Westborough TV is a source of information that, given the technology we now have in place, is almost real time. It is real time at times. But it's actually factual. It's the truth. And I think that's really important in this day and age, notwithstanding COVID and other things going on in the world right now. That is a really important thing that we deliver. And I think more and more people are coming to realize that. And of course, the other thing is that other local news is falling by the wayside. The printed news is going by the wayside. What we're seeing is now that what used to be local news is now becoming more regional sort of information that means that every town is up against each other, as we even get sort of column inches. And so again, really important that Community Access TV is there to cover what's important and get it out there in as fast and practical a way as possible.
Really important. And if I could just add one thing to that. So I know, as you know, Shelby, I do some of these shows in other communities. So that I was in Southborough, and the director there asked me to testify before the Board of Selectmen because they were renegotiating their contract, And I just spoke to that issue. I said, the issue for me is that without local cable, 10 years from now, there will be no community because there will be no way for you to communicate. I remember going to city council meetings in Marlborough, where I lived 20 years ago, because I've always appeared a lot there because of my work. And there'd be three newspaper reporters. There'd be the local Enterprise, there'd be the Middlesex News, there would be the Worcester Telegram and Gazette. I just did a hearing in Marlborough regarding a 700-unit project. Now, this was not this year, last year. Had a huge impact. This is a big project. No reporters were there, zero. The only way they even watch it, they watch it on cable. They don't go, they watch the cable, and then, but as a result of that, there are no live interviews with anyone. There's never a give and take. so that a citizen can actually watch, two people have two sides of a question. So it's fundamental to the democracy. The cable is fundamental to the democracy. How's that?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree, Arthur. And, I mentioned I was on the school committee for a number of years. And it was the same thing. We would have reporters there, and they're just not anymore. These local papers are having a tougher and tougher time making it. They don't have the staff to be sending all over. And it is true that it has diminished the amount of coverage. And when they are covering it and able to cover it, whether it's the TNG I'll get calls from or Community Advocate, they are often depending on our broadcast in order to even be able to write their articles. So it's great right now that we're there and we're showing it, but when local access starts to fall away, who's there to record all of that and make sure the public knows about it? It's concerning. It's concerning to me as general manager, but it's concerning to me just as a resident and citizen, for sure.
Yeah, I think I sit here today as chairman of the chair of the board of Westborough TV, but I also have to reflect back that says, actually, the reason that Westborough TV is in the position it's in today, which I think is a really great position to move forward, I think we have a great springboard, is actually because of the stewardship of the past as much as it is today. Westborough TV, the town agreed that the pass-through, the money that we get from the providers, from Verizon and Charter, goes to fund Westborough TV. And it's very easy to forget that that money doesn't just go towards paying salary or the team's paychecks, but actually we have spent a lot of money investing not just in what we have at 33 Main Street in the studio, but also around town. So there hasn't been any redevelopment of a town facility without Westborough TV being involved, and such as the refurbishment of the town hall, the Port Municipal Building, the high school fields, the fire station, where Westborough TV has not made sure that the best equipment feasible goes in so that we can actually produce the best program coming out. Because at the end of the day, what I think happens is, obviously, our viewers only see the end product. What they don't see is what goes into achieving that end product. And I think is a really important point that we have to keep making, is that this just doesn't happen by magic. This happens because we have invested in the right technology and the right people to make it happen.
Yes, so important. Great point, Steve. And I think the interplay between Arthur's point about true democracy and the way in which information is delivered through Westborough TV. I mean, the only word that keeps coming to mind is it's so pure. I mean, it's not, you could, whether you like the message or not, it's delivered in a way that from the presenter's view and allows folks to share their thoughts, opinions. Obviously, if it's a meeting, it's being delivered without bias and the content is just there for the viewer to interpret. But likewise, I know Karen and I have had many conversations that, folks can approach residents can approach the station and say, I want to do a show on X. And that is what the station is there for. And, I personally, for a long time, I remember thinking, wow, this is like years back, and I was a benefactor as an athlete, of cable TV in my local town and all that. And it was kind of felt a little very local, but now when I watch information on Westborough TV or gather information on Westborough TV versus through, let's say, Channel 5, I don't see all the flashing backgrounds or whatever. It's just so much more simple. I can concentrate on the content versus crazy graphics, which are, to me in some ways so distracting, and ticker tapes. And, it's I can actually listen to the program, which I think is...
Shelby, you've just had me cross out one of my objectives for Karen there. I was looking for flashing signs and... But I think importantly, and one of the challenges that we face at Westborough TV, I think is I'm extremely happy as to where we are today. I'm extremely worried about where we'll be in the future. But one of the problems is that success sort of breeds expectations, and we have to be careful that we are not, and I suspect never will be, a 24/7 rolling news channel for the town of Westborough. But built on what we have produced and what we do put out, I think this is increasing expectations of, hey, Westborough TV will want to cover this or can cover that and everything else. We are really a team of three: Karen, Aidan, and Jeff, and all highly respected and extremely professional. We are supported in normal times by interns and by volunteers, but we can only do so much. The key is to make sure that so much is really high quality, professional, timely, and meaningful. And that really sums up, I think, what we're about.
Right. I think one of the things, we've really focused on is, so there's kind of the informational side of things and covering government meetings and all of that. But then on the other side are some of the more creative pieces we do, more entertainment, and I think, or informative, but in a more creative way than perhaps a government meeting. Not that your government meetings, Shelby, aren't creative, and they're not dry, they're not. But so that's really been a focus of ours, is kind of raising the bar on the level of quality. So we really have worked hard to, earlier this year, we created a number of videos for the Economic Development Committee in town, and we highlighted what the winners of the awards from the Economic Development Committee this year are doing in those businesses in town. And it was really well received. I mean, the team here worked really hard to make these videos that included some of the things that you wouldn't have normally gotten with local access. So, we had one of the things we're working on is our drone aspect of our business, and having a lot of neat shots from the air and mixing that with some really good interviews and some DSLR footage. So just the quality of what we were putting together for these companies was really well received that day. Got some nice kudos from the Lieutenant Governor. But that was a feel-good thing. It was great for those businesses. It was great for the town, being the town departments and the EDC. And what we're trying to do with business, but also for the community. If you want to feel good about how business is doing in Westborough, and hopefully will continue to do despite the current pandemic, you watch some of those and just give you a really good feeling. So, it gets back to us building this community, but doing it with these high quality videos and kind of, again, getting into some fields that we haven't been in before. One of which is, maybe Steve wants to talk about, but podcasts. And kind of, the drone is new for us, and getting all that drone footage, which really adds, but podcasts are another area. I know Steve wants to talk about this. He brings it up a lot.
Well,
but
Karen,
I bet we're not going to talk about them today because we're running out of time. Because everybody, these are all chatty people we have here. So Shelby, I think we need to invite this team back for the next show. And so we can really be talking about those future issues, kind of how people would imagine what cable would be. And I think we really also want to invite people who are watching this show to help us with ideas on that, because this is a really important topic. This is about the community, the future of the community. So, folks, so you just saw, 4 chatty people talking, and if you're really not that bored about this, you can watch it, you can watch it again. We're going to do another one of these, right? Or you can start watching the reruns. But in any event, and I really appreciate it whenever Karen puts up, do that Frank and Mary mug again.
Oh, there you go.
So that's Frank and Mary. They've adapted to COVID-19 now.
They've got the masks.
Thank you for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Westborough, the COVID-19 edition. Thank you very much.
Thank you.